Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is DFree. Welcome back to another Dokkan Battle video. Today we are going to go ahead and talk about LR Vegeta and the most recent update on the game, the Japanese version, of course. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Subscribe if you happen to be new. And yeah, let's go ahead and look at the cards that are getting rebirths for starters. So Physical Gohan, Ultimate Gohan, or not Ultimate Gohan, excuse me, Great Saiyaman Super Saiyan 2 is getting a rebirth here. He's going to be using Battlefield medals. This was a pretty big update, so I'm assuming that, or data download, I'm assuming that Battlefield will be coming back soon. There was that V-Jump scam that had those other units that are awakening. I don't know where those are at. They're announcing these guys, but you know, they haven't really announced those guys or their art, so I don't know what they're doing with that. The Kid Goku, Grade A Physical, the Intelligence and Physical God Gokus, the Android 13 from the story mode, all those guys are supposed to be rebirthing, so I don't know what's going on. Physical Vegeta does get a rebirth. He becomes one of the better, especially Super, but one of the better physical defensive units. I was hoping that he would get one eventually, because he seemed to be like the only really OG card in the game that hadn't had a rebirth, and you know, people just forgot about him. I wonder if Bandai like separately forgot about him, but he's pretty decent now. And of course, we have the Big Kahuna LR Vegeta. I think his face looks funny. I don't like this art right here. I feel like old school Majin Vegeta is a little better, but that's just me. And on top of that, I think this is probably the best one, the Final Impact one. I think this is the best art out of all of them. Let me know your thoughts. LR Gohan's kind of the same way. The TUR one is probably the best art. But regardless, let's go ahead and talk about what these guys do, courtesy of the Dokkan Battle Reddit. If you're not following them, go ahead and do so. You know, they're an amazing community. I'm friends with a lot of the guys in mod over there, and they do really good work. So regardless, we're going to talk about the rebirths first, and then we'll go back to Majin Vegeta, and then I'll give my thoughts on that too. So Super Saiyan Vegeta, HP attack and defense up to AGL, intelligence and physical types. No key buff, but a 50% buff, so that's okay. Attack down 40% for the attacked enemy. So he has to hit them first, which does suck. It can't just be something that activates at the start of the turn. But it makes you want to throw him in a horde, and his defense is pretty substantial. So whenever he gets a super leader, physical leader, he could be a really solid defensive unit, especially with improvement from the potential system. So I'm not going to sleep on him. I'm not going to call him good. I'm not going to call him bad. He's pretty decent. Super Saiyan, Combat Ethic Saiyan. I'm assuming that's Saiyan Warrior Race, Golden Warrior, King's Blood. I don't know if that's Vegeta's family or whatever that is. Ready for war, that's prepare for battle, and limit breaking is actually rebirth. It makes me think of limit breaking form, but it's rebirth. So Gohan, 2 key boost and 50% to attack and defense. No HP buff to AGL and physical types. Attack plus 90% at the start of the turn, and supreme damage, and attack rises for 3 turns. That's really good given the way that the mechanics work now. 50% I'm assuming is what that is. That's generally what those are, but that's a really substantial increase for a unit like him. Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Shocking Speed, Hero of Justice. They couldn't get rid of that. Ready for War, Kamehameha, and Rebirth. So he's a really good unit. He's probably going to be optimal physical hero whenever that comes out. Of course, him and Vegito Blue. And then you have guys like Pan, who physical Pan is going to be a really good unit on the team due to her 30% buff. That's a significant increase on your main hard hitters. So we'll have to see how that all works out. So he's going to be pretty good. If you have him, rebirth him. Like I said, we can't do it yet, but I'm assuming I'm assuming that Dokkan Battlefield will be coming back, because that was a really big packet download for the game. Let's go ahead and talk about Vegeta. 3 key boost, HP attack and defense, 90% up to all AGL units. So there is no split between hero and villains. I like what they're doing here, because that's a really good leader skill. It's a very underrated leader skill, and I'll give my thoughts on that in a moment. Attack plus 150% up when launching a super attack. Super attack is final impact. It gives colossal damage, rare chance to stun, and is 18 key or more, 18 to 24, is an AoE. That means that he hits everybody on the field, like the Tech Majin Vegeta does, like STR Broly, those guys, Xeno Trunks. Super Saiyan, Saiyan Warrior Race, Saiyan's Pride, very good link to have on an AGL team. King's Bloodline, I'm assuming that's what that is. We'll come back to that when we look at the card. Over in a Flash, of course, limit breaking, which is rebirth. He has rebirth and not fierce battle. Gohan got fierce battle. Vegeta did not. Legendary power, that's the 5,000 attack link for the LR units. So let's go ahead and talk about Vegeta. Yeah, Saiyan Warrior Race. This is Super Saiyan. I'm assuming this is Vegeta family. I'm pretty sure this is Vegeta family. Yep. So King's Bloodline is Vegeta family. That's what I expected. And then Saiyan Pride. So let's look at SS4 Vegeta really quick. He's somebody that I wanted to look at. I need to see his link set. This is Shocking Speed. You're not prepared for battle. This is Shocking Speed. And that's Roar of the Saiyans, GT, Fierce Battle, Super Saiyan and Saiyan Pride. Okay, so off the bat, there's a couple of problems with this guy. I'm going to talk about here. We don't know what his AoE is yet. The AoEs generally are extreme. There's people saying it's extreme. Some people aren't saying that. Going with the assumption that it's extreme, basically his 12 key all the way to 18 key, but obviously 12 to 17 is best super for him, which is a good and bad thing. Because he's leaving damage on the table by not going to 24 key. So we'll have to parking lot that. I don't know. Regardless, if it is not extreme, if it's anything higher than extreme, that's basically his best super, which is good. Otherwise, he'd be the first LR in the game in which you don't want to get 24 key on. If you didn't know, the more key you get, each one gradually makes the super attack stronger. If you did not know, once you pass the super attack threshold, which is generally 12 key, on LR units, it doesn't really apply that way to other guys, but I digress. One of the big problems with this guy, and it's not really, it's a first world problem, right? Because it's not really that big of a deal. Not having Fierce Battle and being extreme. Obviously, being an extreme AGL unit was a given, and it's a bad thing because you can't really optimally run him on a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta team, but at the same time, him not having Fierce Battle takes away the fact that he could have been basically the best offensive link buddy for Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta by having that Saiyan Pride there. They'd be giving each other, what, 40%, 45%, whatever that is, 40%, you know, Super Saiyan, Saiyan Pride, and Fierce Battle. By not having that, I mean, he's leaving damage on the table for the buddies that he's with. He himself will hit pretty hard. Of course, 150% is a massive increase, especially when you're an LR unit with the key multiplier that he will have and the damage modifier he has too. He's going to hit ridiculously hard with the best of them. Honestly, probably going to calculate out to being one of the hardest hitters in the game, especially if he's able to get 24 key. So, you know, that's not really that big of a problem. It's not a problem for him, but it does leave damage on the table for the other allies that he would have. But, you know, the problem with that is not, I don't want to make it seem like it's a massive deal, because it's not. It's really not. That's why I said it's a first world problem, because the team is going to output enough damage to sustain anyway. It doesn't really matter. But another little minuscule problem with him is that he's extreme, meaning that he cannot be on that team and actually be sustained. It's kind of weird. Because Vegeta will only, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta will only supply this guy with one key. Aside from that, unless you have Overrun Flash units on AGL, which off the top of my head, I don't think there's anybody else there, or a bunch of key supporters, this guy's going to struggle himself. But that brings me to my next point, his leader skill. This applies to him and Gohan, because people talk about God leads. Gohan doesn't count in that, because Gohan has not been obtainable, for one, since that initial Rebirth banner. So I don't know what they're doing with these guys, but these are like LR God leads, so they're buffed versions of the old generation of God leads, the Super Vegetos, Omega Shenrons, those guys. They're buff versions, but they're not as good as the newer ones. But there is a catch in there that you now get to run with these guys, just the same color. It doesn't matter if they're super or extreme types. There's no divide. So that kind of calculates this guy as being probably the best AGL leader in the game, because now you can field out a team, and obviously everybody's situation is different. I like to make sure people understand that. I'm not talking about it like everybody has every available unit. Of course, some people will still take it that way, even if I say otherwise. But in a situation similar to this, like we're looking at it right now on my computer screen, you know, you could throw out LR Vegeta lead. You find a friend, fine. If you don't, whatever. But LR Vegeta lead, Android 17. You have Rose out there. You can throw in a key supporter like Trenchcoat or Trenchcoat 17, or the recently rebirthed AGL Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. You have Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, who's not showing here because this is the extreme sorting. You have Super Vegito. You have a really, really, really good and offensively and defensively good team, because you have to take into consideration that this guy's an LR. Look at his base max stats there. His max stats, 10,000 defense rounded up. He's going to tank really well. You know, he doesn't have a defensive increase on the passive, but he's going to tank really well. I hate when people say Gohan can't tank, because it's the same thing. You know, that defensive stat gets high enough to where you just don't take damage from normal attacks anymore. You know, so it's kind of the same thing. And of course, you'll have LR Vegeta, or excuse me, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, and you'll have Vegito on the team. So a lot of offensive and defensive firepower. So that'd probably be the best way to run this guy, because there's no divide, and you can run 17 and Rose, who are two of the best 5 AGL units in the game. You don't have to drop them or run them suboptimally with 50% and one key from a Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta lead, or the other way around, where you want to run, you know, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Vegito on 17's team. You know, same thing applies to those guys in that scenario. So, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section as far as LR Vegeta goes. I don't know how good he will be at, because I don't know about the 24 key multiplier, or not that, the 18 key super attack and how that works out. But regardless, he'll be really good. It seems like he'll be a summonable unit. That's 77 cost. Kind of implies that if we're going off of LR Gohan and kind of the similarities with the leader skill and stuff like that. So we'll see. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Subscribe if you're new for more content, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.